just a boy. Christmas brought so much joy. Couldn't wait for the presents and laughter. I couldn't sleep late at night, looking for Santa with lights. Those are the memories I still remember. Then I became a man, lost sight of who I am, but right in front of me was the answer. 'Cause on Christmas I feel joy, and I turn back to a boy. The answer is to stay young forever. This is not a Christmas, this is not a Christmas song, this is not a Christmas, this is not a Christmas song, this is not a Christmas, this is not a Christmas song, this is not a Christmas, this is not a Christmas song.
Hello, Star Wars fans. You know, there's just 66, Order 66 days until Christmas 2023. Look out. Oh, geez, Jason.
Don't do it. It doesn't taste good.
Smells like a wet dog. No,
It doesn't. It's not good.
It's not good
for us.
no, that's not good. Hey, we're just going to kind of hang out today. As you all may have noticed, my regular background's gone again. You know when that happens? When
Emo Santa, emo Santa, emo Santa. My whole world is black. The world is darkness. I am the only light in it, and I slowly fade with every breath.
my daggum computer failed again.
Oh,
I know, you know, and Rob was giving me a hard time online about it, but I went and bought a really high-end computer to make sure I could do all the video work I do for Santa Claus stuff. And they replaced the CPU and the motherboard back in like April.
okay.
Then less than a month ago, they replaced the motherboard again. And then I'm mailing it off, and guess what?
It works even better than before.
No.
It's super fast.
It died again. I went on vacation for a week, a little over a week, and we came back, and I was using it this week, and then it just died. And then it was it won't boot up. And they said, "Oh, send it back to us." I'm like, "Okay." We had the original motherboard. You replaced it with the CPU, central processing unit, back in April.
I think
You
that
replaced
power
it
supply.
again. It could
I think
be
it's your power supply, probably. Most likely, that's
blowing it.
as we keep going through, and it keeps. Yeah, it might be time to toss that out if that's old.
Oh, the whole thing's new, so I don't know. Yeah. So hey, we've got some folks in the chat. I see Ducky Momo on here. We've got Ron
Momo.
Rackwell. Hello. Was missing your Star Wars news. We're going to talk a little bit about Star Wars news. Of course, we're in a cycle now where there's hardly any news.
Me and Ron served in Vietnam together. We really saw some stuff. So it's good to see him doing well.
And then Mumbo Jimbo. Hello.
Hey.
RF Gaming. And then earlier this week, Star Wars Meg put a video out, and somebody said, "Oh, downvoted because you clip baited us. You guys terrible."
Did she though? No, I'm kidding.
No. So my friend Dale Skywalker, right? You guys know Dale, right? It's Skywalker's Academy. And he's been around for a long time. I've known him for a very long time, couple of years. I've known him. He goes back to the old Thor Skywalker days that I think the first time I met Dale. And Dale says, actually, if you actually read the title, it says right in there, Star Wars Theory. It doesn't say it's like, confirmed stuff. And
I thought Star Wars Theory was a guy.
The guy replies back and says, Meg, I didn't know you had another account. Admit it. You're just Meg commenting under a disguise.
That's my Star Wars theory.
So there's Meg. Good to see you, Meg.
So wait, Meg is Skywalker's Academy?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, all those times that I've talked to Dale, like on Zoom calls.
So all those times Meg was nice to me, and the Skywalker's Academy was nice to me. I was like, people are nice to me. It was just Meg the whole time.
It was just Meg the whole time. Yeah.
Thanks, Meg.
Just weird people on the internet. You know what I mean?
Oh no, I have no idea what you mean at all. I've never experienced any of that.
Lousy mercy. It's very funny.
Hi, Brandon.
I've never seen them in the same room together. But that's true. I mean,
Mm.
Dale here lives in the United States out west, and Meg
Perfect.
lives over in
Perfect story.
England. So
Perfect cover. Good job, Meg. Good job, you puppet master.
Sabersmith wants to see the blurg. Hold on a second.
Blurg. Star Wars Santa's blurg time.
Well, Sabersmith was on our Discord asking what are some of your favorite collection items.
Mostly Jodie Foster statues.
There's
Jodie Foster.
I've got X-Wing had this commission for me. It was made over in Spain. The Spaniard made this thing and sent it to me. But that's a vintage collection scale blurg right there.
That's pretty cool.
Still riding the board.
Yeah,
There's Fitz. I hear Jason likes Phil Collins.
I do.
does.
Studio. I don't even know what that means. That's how above me it is.
I don't think anybody does. Hey, there's all kinds of stuff going on out there in the world. And it's a terrible place, right? The world is a terrible, terrible place. And the internet is just a reflection of that. Every now and then we get to see terrible, terrible things on the internet, and just people being dumb, really dumb. But
so dumb.
When there is lack of content, you know what people do?
They don't make stuff up. That's the one thing that they don't do. So I don't know what you're going to say now.
They make stuff up. That's what they do.
You serious?
That's exactly what they do.
Okay.
They make stuff up. And if you are, I warned about this a long time ago. Every so often we do a show like this where we say, don't believe the dumb news. The dumb news. Don't believe it. And if you are hanging out on Reddit is your main primary source of Star Wars leaks,
Math.
Be careful. Be careful, because a lot of that stuff is just made up nonsense. It ain't true. None of it.
Well, a good thing to do is to go on Reddit, and when somebody posts something that's completely like made up and really fake, then go, "Oh, we eating good tonight." And then when somebody puts something real out, make their life very hard and call out their integrity constantly. That's the best way to go about Reddit, I'd say.
Ducky is right. The made up stuff is more entertaining. I mean, I'll give you that.
I know. You know what though? You're right, but it's only like at a glance. Like if the made up stuff was actually in the like thing that people say, like everything before it and after it would be junk. It's like everything is relative, and how you get to that relative moment of that made up info is the problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's why it seems so. It's like just a big shortcut.
Well,
it's not that the Reddit leakers are more creative than Lucasfilm. It's that would actually never work. You know what I mean? That usually, more or less.
It's just the people that believe it, and then they spread it as if it was truth, like historical fact.
So I think there's three things here. There are your gullible believers, for sure. That does exist. Then you have your, I know this isn't real content creator, but I don't care because I have some stuff I want to buy on Amazon.
Yeah.
And then you have your like third person that's whatever's established cannot be true. And this is my new leaker. This is my new leaker. It's not Bespin Bulletin or Jason or Jeff Snyder. No, it's this person. And it's just like, and then they say, inevitably, we eating good tonight. And we always laugh when we see that. We wait for that one. And me and Bespin will see it and we'll go like, haha, because we know it's not true. And we're like, they're so dumb. They're so stupid.
We call those people the dude trust me bros. Right?
Yeah.
Dude, trust me, bro. I got this information, and it's true. Trust me. Just
Mhm.
trust me.
Just trust me, bro.
Dude, trust me, bro.
Well,
Right?
like one of the things just about how like information is disseminated. For instance, like there was a post. I'm not calling it out. I'm not calling it real or fake or anything like that. I don't care. I don't want to get into it. I don't want some weirdo on 4chan or Reddit going like, "Oh, they're trying to debunk me," and I don't want to get into it. But when somebody goes and they drop a whole bunch of information, like the title. So the guy on Reddit who was legit about who had obviously seen Ahsoka at the end after it was done. That guy,
Yep.
look at how he did stuff. Did he come out and drop like the final episode title? No, he didn't. They drop little pieces and they are playing a little game like, I know something you don't know. Do da, do da. They play that little thing. They don't go, here's everything I know. It's called the wizard, the Jedi, and the whatever, and here's the thing, and then here's everything, and here's Dave Filoni's next. It doesn't work that way. It never has, and it never will. If somebody has something, they usually drop out little pieces because they're breaking an NDA, or they're really close to somebody breaking an NDA, and they put the little toe in the water, then they put their little toe, then they put their feet in. They might dive in all the way, but they don't. They test the water very slowly.
Yeah.
So when you see like the whole thing of like, oh, Dave Filoni's movie is called whatever, Dave Filoni's movie doesn't have a title yet.
Right. And if it does, then it's got some,
if he has a title
or something.
Well, here's the whole thing is they might not even let him use his title.
Right.
But then the faker, if you were to fake that one, gets to go, oh, they didn't let him use it. Yeah, instead they called it that title you don't like.
Yeah, yeah, we have that in the community. So if Reddit, if you just love going to Reddit and you get your information from Reddit, there's another Reddit page it would recommend folks go check out. It's Star Wars News. Star Wars News.
Yeah, if anybody wants to be a moderator or anything like that on there, hit me up. If you want to do it, we can make a new Reddit community, right? We can do it. We can make our own.
Right. So go check out Reddit Star Wars News. I put the link in the chat here. That's where Jason's. Do you own that, or are you moderator there? What? Yeah,
I do.
I'm a moderator there. Meg's a moderator there. Bespin a moderator on this Reddit as well?
Probably.
Yeah. And somebody asked, I haven't seen Bespin in a minute. Where's he been? We've got this lull going on here. He's taking a bit of a breather, stepping back just a little bit, balancing life and prioritizing things. So he's all right. He's all right.
I don't want to speak for him or anything like that, but he and I have felt the same way at times, but he is underappreciated. And like I said, it's weird. You see these content creators like using an article from Bespin, for instance, and they give nothing back to the guy, making thousands of dollars on his info, and the guy is making enough to pay the server bill for the site. It's the world is upside down and stupid. The Star Wars community that follows leaks doesn't deserve the leaks. Like honestly, I do think we should close up shop.
Well,
I think we should.
I get what you're saying.
We might. I would still talk about Star Wars because I enjoy it, but in terms of like that side of it, it's looking less and less like appreciated and worth it for us because I think we've been doing it for a long time, so I think a lot of people take it for granted and stuff like that. And he's in that thing. It's not me just whining about woe is me. Woe is him. He's the same thing. It's the same situation. Where you just see like these like, oh, I like this guy. He looks like he'd be on Sports Center. And he's just like, all he'll do is just say like, oh, he shall be heir to the Empire. So this story is about Obi-Wan Kenobi, but is it heir to the Empire? Nobody believes this, but they won't stop it.
Right.
They get paid, and Bespin doesn't.
But right, Bespin is on a group chat with you and Meg and myself, and this morning he did give us a little interaction.
Yeah.
So I know he's alive and kicking because he
Oh,
posted
yeah. I know
in
him
our
every
chat
day.
just today. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
every day I play video games with him, and
he's doing okay. He's
I'm
doing okay.
he's doing great, but he, you know,
There's
you think he's a little
there's
over this
yeah,
community
I get it.
today.
No, I get it. I get it.
Once again, I don't mean to speak for him. He can speak for himself. He's a
Yeah.
big boy.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah.
So you can find some information on here that
He's
Jason,
a Welsh boy, not a Welshman.
look,
Welsh boy.
as a true posted on there. Right, we
Love
see
that for
folks
sure.
that we know. There's making Star Wars, so that we've got information out here. So if you guys want to follow a Reddit that may not be quite as terrible as some of the other Reddit,
Yeah, I'm not trying to
check
make it a
out this,
competition against any other Reddits or anything like that. It's not the thing. Let's just do it how we want it done, and then that way
Yeah.
they could do it.
Yeah. So
So
there
the
you go.
ones do how they want to do it. You know, it's ours. It's ours.
And look, it's easy. Star Wars news. So there's that. There's something that I posted, and this is what got Bespin going. We were talking about it earlier in the week, and it bears a little clarification.
Mhm.
I saw some stuff come up here on Reddit. On the Reddit, speaking of Reddit,
Mhm.
Nielsen has released ratings. We were saying, okay, we saw the whole thing from what's that other group that does the ratings? We saw.
Was it like Zumba, something like that?
Something.
Yeah, there's that one, and then there's the Nielsen one, and the Nielsen one was the one I was talking about last week. When I'm like, we don't have all the numbers yet. You're like, yeah, we do. Well, this is what I meant. Is Nielsen hasn't done all 8 episodes yet?
No, we don't have all of them. This is just episode 6.
Yeah,
Episode 6.
2 weeks until we could really evaluate the shows.
Yeah, and to Bespin's point, if you look at the overall tab, Ahsoka's nowhere to be seen. You have to go to the original content. Once you get in the original content, that narrows the field, right? You get down to the original content, and then you can see Ahsoka right there at the top of their list. And if you could just compare it to some other things, we know Netflix is always going to be at top because they release the entire series in one drop. Or, well, in the case of like Stranger Things, they'll do like a half a series and then another half. But in any event, you have a whole series of episodes, and so their watch time in minutes is way high. But when you look at Ahsoka, this one per week, it had 570 million minutes watched, 500,000 minutes watched, and just to be clear, that's not 500,000 people who watched episode 6. That's 500,000 minutes of Ahsoka. So people could have been watching episode 3 or 2 or whatever. But of those 6, the bulk of them probably would have been 6 because it was the one that was just released. 500,000. And you can see down the way, there's Wheel of Time. That was another kind of sci-fi fantasy kind of series. Only Murders in the Building. We watched that. That's a fun show. And then down the list it goes.
Yeah.
So there's this, and then if you look at this was Reddit. I just grabbed a thing here, and it says specific minutes or Nielsen specific minute specific minutes watch.
Specified minute watch.
Yeah,
specifies.
It's just spelled wrong. The C is before the E. But anyway, Nielsen specifies minutes watched, which means the episode's length is a key factor. Views per Disney is total minutes watched divided by the episode length.
And like, but once again, when the math goes on that forum, Bespin actually pointed it out. They take the credits and all of that stuff. I mean, there's the math of it, but that actually ends up making extra million users on episodes.
Sure. It's tough to compare, but it's just using their own numbers, right? Without looking at the number itself so much, but just as a comparison, you just look at the numbers themselves. Book of Boba Fett episode 5. They had on here 46, almost 47 minutes, 744 million watched. Disney's calculation 15.8, right? And if you keep going, you get Andor down here at 8.6, Andor 7 9.0, Kenobi 5 20.22. Again, it's their math with all their whatever, but as long as it's their math is always their math, we can compare their math to their math.
Mhm.
And that's what that is. And you go down to Ahsoka, episode 5, 12.5 million views, and episode 6, 13.3 million views.
So
Actually went up. And
So,
the duration went
and
down.
I've been having like a conversation about this stuff for something else that we're working on.
Yeah.
that we're gonna do.
Yeah.
I don't think he's gonna get mad that I say this or whatever. That some of the stuff that we pulled, but it's a lot harder to get like Marvel numbers for some reason. He was kind of tripping on that. It was, but remember how She-Hulk was like this big disappointment and nobody liked it. Everybody says the worst thing and blah 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 blah. Well, episode 1 is 11 million. 13 million, 13 million, 14 million, 13 million, 13 million, 12 million, 12 million, and 16 million. So if you want to contextualize what people say and what reality is oftentimes two different things, but also take that episode 9 of She-Hulk getting 16 million and then contextualize all of the Star Wars shows in actually where it's at. Because a lot of Star Wars fans are like, Star Wars is the best, and that means I'm the best, that kind of thing, you know? And it's we got to look at it like objectively though, and be like, okay, where do these shows actually fit in the large scheme of things? And like most of the time it's not fair because it's like Netflix, twice the user base on Netflix from a Disney Plus. But in this instance, it's actually like this is on that platform, and the numbers are weird.
So what a lot of folks say is Star Wars should be the best. And this is proof that it's not, and that Kathleen Kennedy has run it into the ground. Disney's a failure. Star Wars is a failure. It sucks. Here's proof.
Mm-hmm.
That's the narrative. And when you say She-Hulk, which a lot of Marvel fans panned, hated, they say, well, look, if Ahsoka can't even do as well as She-Hulk, then how bad does Star Wars suck? And how bad has Kathleen Kennedy mismanaged the brand to make it worse than She-Hulk?
Yeah, and that's just an easy, simple like narrative to like pull out of your butt. That has nothing to do with anything, because the Marvel thing is way healthier than Star Wars and always will be for a lot of different reasons. That's just not. It's like Star Wars. Like one thing we're going to talk about today is people are like, it should all be about the Skywalkers. I don't follow it. When you look at the numbers, every time a cameo shows up, boom, right up. No, I'm not wrong. NBC epic battles. But it just that's the way that it goes. You know what I mean? Star Wars is a brand that is attempting to become a huge universe full of characters.
I think what he's saying is that She-Hulk included some end credit scenes. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't just the credits. And so people would stick through the end credits to get the stinger at the end. So where people with the Star Wars shows, mm-hmm. when you get to the credits, there's no need to stay to the stinger at the end. So that's all. But also, once again, I'm going to meet you in the middle, because you're assuming that every single person who watches it knows that and waits for the credits. Yeah, I'm just saying. More than not, people are like, "Oh, there was credits." I know Marvel fans are a little bit more trained on that than everyone else, but exactly. And like Mike Porter, I enjoy the shows more than I dislike them. No, NPC. Even at that, the point still stands. The point stands. Even if I say you're right, nothing changes my point. No, you're right. Yeah. It still puts Ahsoka in context of the rest of streaming on Disney Plus. And it's what do you want? Well, it's because of the way they do their math, right? So you end up having to try to figure this nonsense out. Their math says we take the episode length without credits is what they did here on this page, but I think Disney includes with credits.
Yeah.
And so if you look at the
Because
views per
it
Disney,
makes the math go.
yeah,
pretty-
if you look, it'll actually lower the numbers, right? Because you've increased your duration. If you shorten the duration and then you count the minutes, it'll increase your views, right?
All right.
So, so the point would be, okay, if they're taken without credits for, say, She-Hulk, without credits, well, how did they count the stinger in there? Did they put the stinger up against, or did they count all the way from the beginning to where the stinger is? You know what I mean? Like, okay, the stinger is a 30-second thing at the end, but you got to wait 3.5 minutes to get to it. Did they count all 4 minutes, or did they count? You know what I'm saying?
Nielsen includes credits. It's minutes watched divided by entire runtime. So this is misinfo.
Well, again, this is the part of what we're talking about.
But
with Reddit, you got to be careful.
It's right
with
or
what
it's
you get.
wrong, and it's wrong.
Yeah,
I'm just saying it is. It's not. I want Star Wars to do better.
Well, and if it's
but if it's but it is what it is. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
It's not anything else. I mean, I don't know what to say. It's like that is what is happening.
Yeah. Until the industry itself comes into some sort of standard alignment, then we have nothing concrete at all to stand on. The best we can do is kind of some wobbly ground underneath it.
Well, and honestly, I despise incorrect information. Like, I want everything I read to be as correct as possible. Obviously, mistakes are made, but I want people to strive to be accurate, right? And that's the only thing I like about all of this is when it goes this way, maybe over time they start to realize, oh, you know what? Our critics are using the fact that we won't be transparent against us. And maybe they will become transparent because maybe eventually it just becomes more worth it. But at the same time, I guess for every single time that it ends up being detrimental, there's the time it's positive for them too.
Yeah, and Ducky, your point is Disney is sketchy. You're not sure what they count as a view. Well, they put on there what they count as a view. They take the episode duration divided by minutes watched. The question is, how are they doing the whole duration? I've seen you messaging our friend.
I know what I'm doing.
I know what you're doing too. Hey, Bespin, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm just
wake up.
Getting very frustrated by this stream. So Jason summoned me.
That's good. That's good.
I feel how you felt listening to my podcast.
That's what I was going to say. If only I had the ability to call in the middle of your podcast after it was published. But no, I just had to listen to it and go, oh. It's good to hear you. Good to hear you. We had folks asking about you earlier, how you're doing, and haven't seen you in a while. So thanks for jumping in and talking about these made up numbers a little bit.
I'm not Bespin Bulletin, Bespin Talk.
He isn't me. He can't do my accent. So
there you go. So what's your take on all this, Nielsen?
I mean, me and Jason have been like doing stuff for this for weeks. So, like last night I spent 3 hours between, I think it was like 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. getting Marvel numbers, which are like a little bit harder to get. But yeah, went through all that, did all the maths on it, and like that's how me and Jason last night we were texting about the numbers of She-Hulk and Miss Marvel. Miss Marvel being incredibly bad,
low. Low. It shows the full spectrum from She-Hulk to Ms. Marvel. There's a big difference.
Yeah, so and that's the thing. So like the Ahsoka numbers, like we were planning to do like a show on comparing everything.
Yeah,
you know, like so I've been collecting data for weeks at this point. But yeah, like I've seen this thing here is like I don't know if this is from Reddit or whatever, but like I saw that Reddit were posting them, but they were including the credits. Whereas when Nielsen counts it counts all of it. It counts the recap at the beginning because it's considered part of the episode's runtime, and it includes the credits. Like there was a conversation in the earlier about She-Hulk saying that everybody had to watch the credits, so it inflates the numbers. Well, it doesn't. Like if you're watching She-Hulk and you're watching more of it rather than less of it. So if I don't know what She-Hulk's runtime is, say it's 30 minutes, and it's like +4 for credits. It's better for them if it's lower. So the numbers you were showing from Reddit, they had episode 6 of Ahsoka at like 42 minutes.
Yeah.
When I did the math on it, it came out like 13 million. But when you had this actual runtime, which was I think 47 or 48 minutes, it came out to like 11.8, which is how it is supposed to be counted. It is with the end credits. Like if Disney wanted to lie and manipulate numbers, they would say we don't include credits. Because She-Hulk, by the way, only some episode had stingers, not all of them.
Right.
As a man who watched it, like
Yeah.
week in, week out, yeah,
Yeah.
some had it, some didn't.
Yeah.
It's the same thing for Ahsoka. Like every minute is counted. And again, even with this, it doesn't take into consideration, multiple viewings. Doesn't take into consideration, like if anybody just watching that one episode, it could be that they're watching. It's why the Anakin episode probably had a boost. It's because people probably started watching because Anakin came in during the season, midway point.
Mm-hmm.
So people probably started watching the series, hence why there's a boost. Which is good because more people probably got tuned on to that show, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Ahsoka is in no way like a failure, but like I think Jason might have touched on this earlier. Like some people, if Star Wars isn't being like the top of the charts, if it's not doing the biggest and best thing, the people get upset by it, and I don't think that needs to be the case. I think there's levels to each Star Wars show that does well. Like you look at Mando, and it does exceptionally well. Obi-Wan, because he's a household name. Boba Fett's been around since the 80s as well. Like he's a legacy character. Something like Ahsoka is relatively new to the mainstream. Obviously, she's very well known to us, and has been a character we followed now for almost 20 years.
Right.
So for her show to be doing what it is, like it's fine. Like it's competing with Marvel shows. It's the highest rated one. But again, you brought Anakin in and got more viewers. Like that's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. There was a question that I've been kind of bouncing around. It's really difficult to land on. But if you accept the premise that Ahsoka is really Rebels season 5, then was it a smart move to take an animated series and move it to live action? There's two things to consider. One is the cost of production for the episodes. A season of Rebels would have been 4 times as many episodes, or at least 3 times as many episodes. And then
actually no, because once again we run into runtime.
Well, no, a number of episodes. Number of episodes.
But it's like a 45-minute episode would end up being like 2 episodes of Rebels. So they basically did a 16 episode run of Rebels when you get down to if you buy into that idea. I personally I don't though. I think it's a flawed premise because it starts in the middle of the story, just like all Star Wars always does.
But let me just kind of couch the thing. If you accept the premise that it is Rebels season 5, then how much did it cost to produce that season compared to any animated season? And what were the viewership numbers of the live action versus an animated? Was it a mistake to take an animated a story that was established in animation largely through Rebels, as far as like Ezra, Sabine, Ahsoka, going to getting space whaled out, the Purgles taking them out, all of that was established in animation. Picking up that story in live action with characters people haven't seen because they don't watch animation, was that a good move or bad move?
It's a Star Wars move in Medias Res. It's a story narrative device that Star Wars has always used. It completely doesn't matter. It's completely irrelevant. A New Hope starts the same way. I don't know what the Clone Wars are. I don't know what any of that stuff is. You could start stories at the very beginning. Here's my first step. I'm Anakin Skywalker taking my first step on my adventure to become a pod racing Jedi. But you don't have to do that. You could start right in the middle with 2 Jedi landing on a Trade Federation ship, and all of this other stuff is already going on. Like so that's why it's Rebels this and that. It's people who watched Rebels going, you don't understand it because you didn't see and it's like, but the thing about it is they are understanding what's on screen right now. They're understanding what the narrative is actually doing right now. And then, and that's just not everything though. That's just like comic book nerd stuff.
Oh yeah. But instead of releasing this as a live action series, what if they had just released an animated season 5 of Rebels instead?
And then
basically
told the same viewership, are they? Like, the thing is, the viewership is 10 times bigger if it's like a live action show. Even if it's like, because ultimately what they want to do is they want to grow the brand and they want to grow Disney Plus, right? And the best way of doing that is translating Ahsoka into a live action medium, which they did with The Mandalorian by putting it in there to introduce it to the casual audience that came in during that period. And then they wanted to follow that. If they're bringing in new audience members, and everybody has access to the internet pretty much these days. If you're watching Ahsoka, you have access to the internet, and chances are, like, if you were intrigued by, if you have a question by something that's going on the show and it hasn't been answered there, you can just go online. Jon Favreau was saying this when he was talking about Mando season 3, that he didn't feel as if he needed to include, like a recap for the Book of Boba Fett. And when you look at the numbers of the Book of Boba Fett, going back to the numbers thing, that's one of their most watched shows. So the people who were tuning in week in, week out probably did know the narrative. And it's the same thing with Ahsoka. It's like the information is out there and can be obtained, but ultimately choosing to go live action rather than animated benefits the studio and benefits Disney Plus. What Disney are trying to do at the moment is get more subscribers, current or new, to subscribe to the ad tier, right? So they're going to get paid through the ads, and they'll make a lot more money from getting you watching a live action show of Ahsoka than an animated version of Ahsoka. Exactly.
Clone, just to contextualize what you were saying, the Clone Wars was on Cartoon Network, which everybody had in their home as part of their cable package. Back when Clone Wars was on, a lot of people had cable. Most people had cable. Streaming wasn't a thing like as it is today. And those episodes were getting 3 million views. Star Wars Rebels was getting less than half of what Star Wars Rebels was getting less than half of what Clone Wars was doing on Disney XD. It was really low by comparison because nobody had Disney XD. It wasn't Cartoon Network, which is part of every basic cable package that exists for the most part.
Yeah.
And
so an add-on tier.
Yeah. So if you were to go and you were to take it down to being an animated show, about probably a tenth of the people would see it at the end of the day to like answer that question. And it's not, but I'm also saying the Clone Wars to contextualize it when it was in everybody's home, what it was getting, which was about 3 million. Sometimes they were as low as like 1.9 million, some of the episodes too of Clone Wars. But so when you want to say, oh, Star Wars is dead, it's doing so bad. Well, what was it before when it was getting 1.9 million views on normal TV? And now it's getting, if you accept the numbers, somewhere between 10 and 14 million.
And by the way, when it's 1.9 million, that's how TV used to be reported, how HBO still report it. Just unique viewership. This isn't just this, which is views, which is the episode length, like, which is divided from the minutes watched. Like that's not an accurate number. Like we don't know how many individuals are actually watching it. Whereas the 1.9 or to the 3 million, that was individual. That was unique viewership.
The old TV numbers were heavily Nielsen based, right? And then that's on the Nielsen box. They would do it by
the Nielsen thing,
the home, who lives in the home.
Yeah, the Nielsen streaming thing is operated differently though, because it just counts minutes watched.
Right. But old Nielsen, Nielsen. Yeah.
I was part of a Nielsen for a short while, and you had the little book, and you had to mark in it what did you watch today, and then you sit that in. And then
really?
Oh yeah.
I always thought it was like a set top box or something. I didn't know it was that archaic. That's
No,
crazy.
this was in the 90s.
Oh, okay.
So they sent us a thing, and we filled it out every day. You know,
What did you get for doing it?
Nothing.
Weird. You know, it seems to be like we're going to give you a new TV or something. You know what I mean? We're going to give you this TV, and then you're going to do this for us or something. You know?
No, it was just filling it out. You get to be part of the, the information that gets reported. You know that you helped. You know, people understand what's happening. So, but yeah, it was essentially like a journal. You can just, and it was a grid of the hours of the day.
1988.
It was a grid of what was, the hours of the day, and you would just put on, from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. I watched the news. 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. I watched whatever Entertainment Tonight. Whatever.
Hunter, the Fall Guy.
And Mike
Heart to Heart.
Mike, but not from 7 to 8. That was after 8.
Oh,
yeah. But y'all think Disney Plus is ruining Star Wars or Marvel? And he's saying because of Disney Plus, or would there be more Star Wars movies because there's no Disney Plus to produce? So is it watering down the brands? Is really the question it comes back to. When you had to wait 20 years between Star Wars movies or trilogies, then it made the trilogies really, really special. And then the stuff you got in between were especially between the original trilogy and the prequels, wasn't even canon. The Droids animated series was terrible, and it wasn't canon. Nobody thought it was canon. The Ewok animated series, that wasn't canon. Nobody thought that was canon.
Well, we just jumped through hoops personally behind the scenes trying to figure out how it could be or wasn't canon. Why doesn't Star Troopers make sense?
Right. So does Disney Plus water down because it's adding so much additional story? Does
going bowling or miniature golfing with your family ruin your Disney World trip? I mean, that's the way I look at it. It's two different leagues of leisure time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you don't have to participate in all of it or any of it if you don't want to. So it's like you could literally just be a movie guy and live the same thing and pretend that it doesn't exist, and it probably won't matter. Well, the Dave Filoni one, it might matter, but it probably will actually still will be the word of the day. It's Latin, so I've never heard anybody say it. I've only seen it written, but dies res, which is a story starting in the middle of it. I think it'll just happen, and if you have watched the Disney Plus shows, it won't feel like it's starting in the middle of it. You'll be watching serialized content. But if you're just some rando who just on a date and decides, oh, let's do the laser sword movie, it'll just be like, okay.
You just said a phrase that I saw a tweet about. Didn't Mark Hamill say something about your Space Wizards and laser sword movies?
I don't know.
Was it who was it that said that?
I'm sure he has over the years. I mean, I don't know though.
There was somebody who was saying,
I didn't make that up or anything. It's just the thing that we say.
Yeah. There's another story that came up today that I want to bring up because it's kind of ridiculous.
Okay.
But I'll because we're talking. It's 66 days until Christmas. Order 66. You can't ignore it.
You can't.
There's this story that Matthew Vaughn thinks it'd be great to reboot the original trilogy, reboot Star Wars from the beginning, and tell the story with the original characters, all new. Says doing Star Wars movie is to play with the characters I love. If they said to me they'd reboot Star Wars and have Luke Skywalker, Solo, Vader, and do your version of it, right? The original. Everyone would say you're an idiot to try. Yes, we would.
Yeah.
That he could have stopped there. He said, but it would excite me. He goes on. He says, "Why are the Star Wars characters so hallowed that from 1977 you can't redo it for a new audience?" Star Wars is the Skywalker family, and that's where I think they've gone wrong. They forgot. They've done brilliantly in TV, but it needs to be epic new film. I think a lot of people agree with that as well. We need an epic new film, but he keeps going. That's what I would do. Everyone's going to go crazy. But let's bring it on. If you want a new generation, make the movie for them. The old generation, hopefully you make it well enough they'll enjoy it. Couldn't you make a really good argument that The Force Awakens is a reboot of A New Hope?
Well, that was the smart way of going about it. That was if there is a genius to The Force Awakens, it's that it was a reboot without being a reboot. It doesn't, and you just look at any film. I mean, was RoboCop? Did it connect more for a new generation? Does what has been remade that was better than the original that competed? It just by its very nature is going to divide audiences. What was it?
Scarface.
Scarface. Yeah, remake Scarface. Are you talking about was Scarface like a 1930s gangster movie? And I don't know that.
Yeah. It was like it was redone in the 80s.
Yeah.
I just think that's a crazy idea. Why would you keep telling the Skywalker saga over and over again every 20 years, 30 years? Let's just tell the same movie again, the same trilogy. We'll let somebody else tell it, and they'll update all of the technology, all of the cinematography involved, recast it with all new characters, change the dialogue or whatever, and tell the same story again. It makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
Why would you? I mean, maybe you wouldn't have Luke making out with his sister, because you're like, oh, okay, that changed. Maybe you wouldn't have.
I keep it. I keep it.
I can see his like logic. I don't agree with it, but I can see it. Like he wants it to be a new entry point for like, a younger generation.
Yeah.
Like I've said this before. Like I have like family members or like people I know who are much younger who won't watch an older movie because it's an older movie just based off how it looks and how like certain people perform in them and whatnot. You look at Warner Brothers at the moment, and they're looking to reboot Harry Potter, but they're doing it as a TV series. Most younger people, like I'd say people in their teens, they'd rather watch a streaming service than go to the movies, right? So like it's smart to do it that way. I don't think you need to reboot Star Wars, but like maybe in 40 years when Lucasfilm have run out of ideas, they do it. But I think you definitely don't do it within the next 20. I think that I think he's like, again, Matthew Vaughn, he was brought on to sort of reboot X-Men in a way. After the Bryan Singer trilogy, he went and did X-Men First Class, which was introduced in a different, Professor X, a different Magneto, etc. Like he probably does operate in that like state of mind. Like, to bring a new generation in, you need to like start from scratch in some way. I don't agree with it, but
I think the smartest thing would be a Force Awakens again, but do it another 30 years beyond and not have any of the legacy characters.
But it depends what you mean by another Force Awakens. The reason the Force Awakens worked is because it hit a bunch of generations, hit the people who grew up with the people who with the prequel trilogy, and try to get new fans. But
I googled Joseph Campbell, so I think you're wrong.
If you're doing 40 years, like, I don't mean this in a bad way. Is Jason gonna be alive?
No.
Right?
Oh no,
so
we're looking at heroin overdoses, all kinds of dark stuff.
No, I'll be 96 years old, so I'm probably not here.
You're gonna be here. The Singularity's coming. You're gonna be a robot.
So 40 years, if you're gonna reboot Star Wars, or if you're even just gonna try to Force Awakens it, what are you gonna lean on?
Well,
you know what I mean? Like you can't lean on the original trilogy again.
I think the reboot comes when technology changes so drastically that it looks like it does not sit beside itself anymore. Think of like a silent film versus a 4K movie today. That you can't go watch a Charlie Chaplin movie and have that be episode 1 and then have this 4K movie that's out today directed by Matthew Vaughn and be like, that's part 9 of that. They don't sit together anymore. So someday the medium of television or film or whatever will drastically change to such a degree. It'll be like, oh, do we convert this whole movie into 3D Oculus headset kind of jazz that I can't even comprehend right now, or do we just remake it? That's when they just remake it. But as long as we're watching a flat paneled screen at the resolution of film.
But even if you do that, do you remake the story of Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, Han Solo, Chewbacca, and Darth Vader? Do you redo that story, or do you create a new one that uses the same themes?
Well, that's what they're going to do now. That's what they did. That's what Rey is. Rey is just it's just a spin on A New Hope,
right?
More or less. And then what's the modern? How do we modernize it a little bit? But if you were to go into 2000, 2005, 500 million years from now, then then you do probably just remake the original thing. But it will never work in the same way because it's a different time.
Yeah.
The Pollyannish attitude of Luke Skywalker was something that people were craving when you had New Hollywood in the 70s making Scarface style film or, Taxi Driver style films. And it's a big downer. You don't want to see Jodie Foster as a teen sex worker all the time. No, let's see Jodie Foster as a space princess having a good time sneaking around the Death Star. Like that's what the audience wanted. And Carrie Fisher obviously played the part. But you see what I'm saying? Like that's you can't get that political context back, that point in time. I mean, it's crazy today. It's like, who cares? But like Nixon and stuff like that, what was going on? People were wanting a more wholesome experience, and we weren't getting it in the 80s. We were like, it was a darker kind of weird time. So you're just never gonna recapture that. So yeah, I think of all of the wrong things that they've done, one of the right things that they did do was not just remake A New Hope and start from there, but say, let's take the motifs of A New Hope, modernize it, and then continue on with the story. Because honestly, if they were going to redo it, chances are in the remake, Luke would have been a girl if it was made in 2015. So Luke Skywalker is now a girl, and
there's that too, right? Like you'd end up with gender and race swapping and all kinds of stuff like that just to make people crazy. Mumbo Jimbo, I agree with, right? That DC has been terribly mismanaged, and we end up with reboot after reboot after reboot of a series that didn't need, and especially what they're doing right now, it's terrible.
I still don't think you can compare this to DC though, because even if they rebooted it at the time Force Awakens happened, that's still decades before they did a reboot of the franchise, and they're not even considering rebooting it now. It wouldn't have been a DC situation where a bunch of their films aren't even connected. There's a different Batman every less than 10 years. It's completely different. Like I think with Star Wars, like the Force Awakens, you can't ever replicate it. I think it was lightning in a bottle with that. Like the time, the anticipation. That's for generations of fans that it hit, people that it brought in. I don't think we'll ever get that again. Like,
no.
That one is like the love of your life says it's over, and that one was like she wants to come back, and you're like, yeah, everybody's on board for it. But now we know she'll come back. It's not ever going to be the same.
Astromech Jeremy brought up an example of a remake, or if you want to say reboot. King Kong, back in the old black and white stop action, whatever.
Yeah.
The remakes of those were really well done. The other one that comes to my mind, because I'm me, is A Christmas Story. Ebenezer Scrooge. That's been done over and over and over again.
But also not a franchise. There's not a series of Ebenezer Scrooge stories, and then they're like rebooting it, like what they're trying to do with Willy Wonka. You know. I don't know. I don't know about that one. But actually, like the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory story itself, they tried to remake that. That was no, you shouldn't do that. There's a like, once again, it's a very specific like time that original film becomes special to us. Honestly, I just only watched that movie in elementary school on rainy days. Like that was the VHS tape my school had.
Oh,
and that's how I think a lot of people experienced it. I don't think it wasn't a hit when it came out. That movie, and so, but it's like, you could try to remake it, but you can't recapture anything. I mean, I like the band ELO, and They re-recorded a bunch of ELO songs, and they're just honestly not as good. They're way better sounding. They're high quality. I like that they did it. I like that I could check it out, but it's not the same.
No, it's not.
You can't recapture something. It doesn't matter what it's performance, and you can't recapture performance. You could emulate it, but you can't recapture it usually without there being some new magic put into it. And but Matthew Vaughn's thing, I think the deeper subtext of what he's saying is creatively, I would have a lot of fun if I got to do that, because I would get to like put my spin on it, and I would get to put what works out in the forefront. And I think I could see like where he's coming from that angle, but in reality, yeah, like NPC Epic Battles says Goonies. No, yeah, exactly. Like you cannot redo Goonies. You just can't do it.
Right. There's I loved ELO. Yeah, I was a big fan of ELO as well. There are nostalgia is a addictive drug, right? Mm-hmm. Nostalgia is something you can jump into and relive your childhood over. That's one of the things that Star Wars certainly has going for it. Why it's been somewhat generational, because dad shows kids, kids show kids, and it goes generationally that way. But also because it's a timeless kind of story. Why would you go back and redo something that is such a major event in movie making history as well? Like the other one that is huge in movie making history, The Wizard of Oz.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Why would you ever go back and remake that?
That's the best analogy to A New Hope that there is. Wizard of Oz and A New Hope.
Yeah.
They're like the same kind of animal to me, anyways.
It's a huge nostalgia buzz, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and they were iconic films that have gone generationally. Willy Wonka, you mentioned, Sound of Music, that's on every year. There's tons of these movies that just have no need for a remake. There's no good reason for it.
Okay,
if you want to be inspired,
Bennett as Dorothy in the dress, I would see it. Bespin, you in?
I'm always in with Senate's involved.
There we go. I am the Senate.
That's right. That's right.
She is the Senate.
She is the Senate.
It is a slow news cycle. We're going to have, at least we know for the rest of this calendar year, the next 66 days, there's going to be nothing new from a Star Wars content on Disney Plus, except perhaps a gallery of Ahsoka season 1. Maybe we don't. They haven't even said they're doing that, but maybe we get that.
Could they? I wonder, because those aren't real documentaries; they're fake PR things. I'm wondering if you need a writer to do it, and they couldn't actually do it, or do they just assemble a bunch of footage and let an editor make it happen? I'm because, like I said, it's a narrative. It's a constructive narrative that they come up with in those things. That's not a bunch of footage thrown together and then now the narrative organically comes about. So I wonder if there is a problem. I didn't even consider that, if there would be a problem doing one.
Well, that's it. I wondered if it's now that the writer's strike is over, if they could put it together, because you wouldn't have actors, right? All that's already been done. Unless they wanted to do poll shots, get Rosario to talk about, I remember this day, it was whatever. You got to wait for the writer's strike to be over to do those kind of tags.
SAG strikes, so they could start promoting their stuff.
Yeah.
I saw today they're asking the SAG people not to dress up as IP characters on Halloween.
Well, Rosario, do not dress up as Ahsoka on Halloween. Yeah. Will Morris said Wizard of Oz is part of a book series. That's true. It started off as a series. The traveling salesman wrote to his daughter, and he would send these stories home to her because he was out on the road. It's back in horse and buggy days. No, I'm not talking about the Amish that lived down the road. I'm talking, back in the 1800s. And then the musical was made inspired by the books, and it's a bit of an amalgamation of the books kind of put together, squished together. It's not exactly quite the same. I've read the books; they're great.
Oh, they go real deep. Like the Lollipop Kids are like addicted to candy. You see like one of them like mainlining sugar. You really get into the depth and the backstory of everybody.
There's a great series in there with the like porcelain dolls.
Mm-hmm.
That it's a whole world. It's almost what's the Gulliver's Travels. It's very similar to Gulliver's Travels in that way, where they go into this world that's like all like porcelain doll world, and the
Jason Momoa is going to play the main porcelain doll in the
witch was destroying their homes, and like some of them were missing parts of their arms or legs or whatever, and they came in and they were like trying to glue some of them back together and different things. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But in this in this gap that we have between now and whenever the next Star Wars is on Disney Plus, then we're going to have to deal with this kind of news. And so I know, Jason, you mentioned at the beginning, Bespin, what are your plans between now and when actual news starts rolling again? It's just a time to take a sabbatical, or what's the deal?
I mean, just see whatever news comes. Like whether it's news I get myself. Like Jason knows I'm sitting on things. I'm always sitting. I could put out stories if I wanted. Like, but sometimes it's getting enough space from when somebody told you something.
Okay.
Or things could change. Like where the actors' strike was supposed to get concluded by October. That was the rumor that all of us shared, like separately.
Yeah.
Like me, Jason, Snyder, all these people, the trades, everybody. And that could change when a show or something could release. So, like when I did the article where I said Skeleton Crew was getting delayed, like that was like in August or something. That was because of the SAG situation. Just weeks before it, I was hearing that it was, looking at November, late November. And I was getting ready to put it out, but it changed pretty quickly. And, I've been trying to get in touch with sources over the last couple of weeks and, just to find out what the situation is, especially when it looked like the SAG strike was going to be concluded. That's not the case now. So the plans that they had is still in place, but I want to see if anything changes,
Yeah. And like right now, if somebody tells us something like stupid, let's just say it's small, we were to put that out. Well, it's so quiet and so like just kind of chugging along at the moment. Would be like very little reward for more risk. It's better to wait until things are back in the full swing across the board and things are going on and productions are actually happening, because that's the other thing about like leaks right now. If something isn't filming, I guarantee you it's not leaking.
Right.
I mean, for the most part, very few times I've heard things well in advance that ended up actually happening. And then like that content was in the thing that came out, knew super early about it. But for the most part, that's not true. For the most part, that's not how it goes.
I'll give you an example that it came out this week about the Dave Filoni's. No, it wasn't Dave Filoni's movie. It was the Ray movie, right?
Yeah.
There was a bunch of stuff that like, this is going to be the title of it, and it's going to star these characters, and they're going to do this and they're going to do that. Why would that come out now? Nothing's in production. Nothing's being, the timing of it is super odd to what you're just now saying.
I mean, we all know the people that report accurate things.
Yeah.
If it doesn't come through those people, then chances are it's not worth anybody's time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then if somebody comes out, puts out like something like what recently came out, and then that stuff begins to become true, and not stuff. A lot of that stuff in like those lists that I got this last week were things that were taken from stuff I've said, he said, Snyder said, like, and then sort of just manipulating it to seem like it's something new. And then when those things generally do come true, then they're like, look, oh my God, it's going to happen, you guys. It's going to happen. It is called, the hands of the New Republic.
Well,
What-
there was
here's
the
the
one
hand of the New
story-
Republic. No,
the
sorry.
one story that you that ties to what you just said is the John Favreau confirmed the script for season 4 is now finished, meaning before the writer's strike concluded, it was not.
It was there were drafts done, and that was fine when like originally, and that's why I said I think I said on the show last week, I was like, he's not done with the scripts though. The scripts aren't finished, so it's not like they can just go and be like, oh well, here's what we're going to do with it. We can start making it tomorrow, but they really probably, well,
They also change things on like
Yes.
production. They rewrite whilst they're there. So
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, and like and then things like aren't as hammered home or is like on season 3. They had like the story, but then they were changing things all
Sure.
the time.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and that's fine. But he's got a version. He says, "Okay, I think we could start now. Here's the script we can go forward with."
Mhm.
So, you both had reported that the script for season 4 was not done before the writer's strike, so that they wouldn't be ready to go into production like immediately. And then you start to think about all the timing of the shows and the movies that were previously announced. And will Skeleton Crew come out in January or November? Will the 2025 movie even still be a Star Wars movie, or will Disney reclaim that and put a Marvel movie or a Disney or Pixar in that space? Will the Rey movie go in May of 2026? I think that's what Jason, you've kind of guessed.
The Rey movie is for May 2026. What we've speculated is that it could get delayed to the December with Filoni's supposed to be.
They would move it up to the
there's
Filoni
no
slot.
Star
And
Wars
nothing goes there.
in 25 anymore.
Yeah. So until the writers, I mean the actors, right? SAG strike is over, and we actually get production sets moving again. It's kind of pointless to be saying,
Yeah,
here's
and the current thing at the moment, the current rumor is mid-November. That the studios would like to get this done by mid-November so that they can have the holidays. If not, then chances are this going to be after the holidays.
to get the strike wrapped up.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
Yeah.
So if it's
You
not
can't go to the
done-
Hamptons with that stuff just lingering. How will they celebrate Christmas?
yeah. Well, and I've seen stories where a lot of the actors, prominent actors that we've seen in shows, are out like doing Uber, Amazon deliveries. You know, just to
gotta eat.
yeah.
Gotta pay rent.
Well, guys, I really appreciate you coming to talk today in this lull that we have. Bespin, I'm glad we were able to provoke you enough, to aggravate you enough. You're like,
Yeah,
okay, can't take it anymore.
I saw somebody to chat, but like, oh yeah, Bespin is alive. Yeah, I'm not dead. I'm still kicking.
That's good. That's good. That's good. Thank you, guys. Is there anything else that's like a burr in your bonnet? Something that's out there that you're like, this?
Well, I
needs
just got riled up by the number chat because I texted to Jason the other day, and I think he forwarded it to you guys. I was like, yeah, the information that they're reporting is like wrong. Well, not even that they're reporting, it's just that they're claiming, like they're taking away like 6 minutes off of things. Like that inflates it. Like you can do the research yourself. Like that's the best way to do it. That's how I encourage everybody else to do it. You know, Jason showed me do math. Like I'm not very good at math, but like that's why it ended up taking me hours to do all these things.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But it's right. But it's correct.
It's correct. Yeah, like it's like I said, I think when you take away the minutes, this is not a Santa thing. This is because obviously I think he pulled it from Reddit, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who read that stuff on there. Like there's more people there than come and read our stuff or watch our shows. And yeah, that's like it's not accurate.
No.
Like I said, you could when you do the the math when it's the minutes divided by runtime, and you're taking away 6 minutes, it boosted it from like 11.8 to 13 mil.
Yeah,
Like,
give you
it's significant.
a million and a half viewers, just by shortening the runtime. Yeah.
Yeah.
In the
But
math.
me and Jason are gonna do a show once Ahsoka is once the numbers all for Ahsoka is done.
Yeah.
Like NPC is he's just got this thing. He's just like it's not correct for She-Hulk. You mentioned Samba numbers earlier. Like
Yeah.
that's not what we're even talking about.
It's tough.
Like
Why do witches try not to upset anyone?
Why?
Well, because they don't want to stir the cauldron.
No. No.
no, I'm with Jason. No,
We decided, Mike Porter. Next week, Mike Porter, you're this is a challenge. I want to laugh.
No, it's good. It's good. Hey, there's a leaderboard going up here. These are people who did really well on the Ahsoka predictions. I've gotten 2 orders so far for the merch that I send out, and so if you see your name scrolling by there, then get a hold of me and let me know what you like, and I will get it.
My
ordered.
name is Baymax. Can you send me my stuff?
He already ordered his stuff. It's going to New Jersey. Would you want to go to New Jersey, and like we can arrange for you to intercept? You could be a porch pirate. Take his.
I'm just gonna go to his house, climb in his bed with some of his food from his fridge, some juice, just sit there and drink, and I'll put on my favorite TV show. I'll put on Ahsoka episode 5. I'll be like, "Hey, Anakin's on." I'll tap the bed. Come on. Wait for the cops to come.
It's good. All right. Well,
who's gonna feed me for that week, Jason? I need food.
He does. It's bad enough he has to get the crumbs that come through the floorboards. But come
That's
on.
it. That's the week's worth, right there.
What? I mean, this is a quiet time, buddy. What do you want? I mean, we're not rolling in it right now.
It's true.
We're losing Patreon subscribers because they're not getting their news because there is no news.
Oh, speaking of Patreon, yesterday I started posting for it's delving into the Legends series, Fate of the Jedi, Chapter 1 of Outcast, and we're going to go through. There's 9 books in that.
Sorry,
series.
Miss Jackson. I am for real. Somebody said that in the chat. It was genius whoever said it.
There's 9 books in that series, and they cover in that series the Abeloth, and trying to figure out, okay, how might they use the character type, or the story points from that if they do. So we'll explore it. So far, we're 1 chapter in, so you can join on Patreon, and you can catch up really fast. 1 video. Yeah, I try to post one almost every day, so that there's a 10 to 15 minute video on Patreon every day. If you're in a Star Wars lull and you'd like some more Star Wars, come check out Patreon.
I'm gonna start writing about the Kardashians and Jada Pinkett Smith.
There you
That's
go.
my next one.
Your Patreon would be way bigger than all of ours. Yeah.
I'm taking the leaf out of Kalida's book. That's where I'm headed.
That's how you do it. That's how you do it.
That's how it's done. That's how it's done. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll catch you next time around. And appreciate the discussion. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. Right. All right. Until next time, my friends. Merry Christmas. May the Force be with you always. Bye-bye.